Now we want to look at the y-intercept that we've just learned about, and we want to see if we can apply that to a real-world situation. What does it mean in real life? Okay? What we're going to find out is, one of the things we've already learned is that the slope is usually a rate, the unit rate or rate of change. The y-intercept is usually an initial value or a starting fee, something of that nature. All right? So the slope is the rate of change, and the y-intercept is the initial value. Something good to remember. All right? Now we have a problem here. Example number 4 on page 201 talks about student council. And student council is selling T-shirts to raise money. Now, when they went to order these T-shirts, it cost $20 just to have a design made up. Okay? So before they even had a single T-shirt, they had $20 invested in the design. And then they had to pay $5 for each shirt that they printed. And then they're probably going to sell them for like $15 and make a bunch of money off of us. Okay? Now, the cost to print the shirts is represented by this equation. So they were nice and they gave us this equation, y equals 5x plus 20. Now, just by looking at this equation, someone tell me, what is the slope? Savannah. Very good. Somebody else tell me, what is the y-intercept? Trevor? 20. Okay. Now remember what they said about 20, or the y-intercept. It is an initial value. Okay. Well, what was the $20 for in this example? The design. So do you get charged for the design for every single shirt? No, you get one design fee up front. So how many times do you get charged for the design? Once. It's a one-time fee. It's initial fee. It's up front. Okay? And then you get $5 for every shirt. Okay, what they want us to do is they want us to graph y equals 5x plus 20 using the slope and y-intercept. All right? So now we're taking the slope and y-intercept that we can find out from a word problem or from an equation, and we have to graph it. Well, how do we do that? Okay, well, we found out that our y-intercept, b, equals 20. So remember what the y-intercept is. Eyes here. The y-intercept is where our line crosses the y-axis. So I need to find 20 on the y-axis, which is right here. So this point right here, remember it's 0, 20, because our y-intercept always has an x value of 0, because it's always on the y-axis. All right? So right here is our y-intercept. Okay? Now, what do we have to do? Somehow, we've got to use the slope to graph the rest of the line. What can we do, Lauren? Okay, how do we work with slope on a graph? What are those two R words that we use? Rise over run, okay? Now, what is another way to write the number 5 as a fraction? 5 over 1. Great job, Corbin. Okay, so 5 over 1. So 5 is going to be my rise, and 1 is going to be the run. Okay, so if I start at a point that I already have and go up by 5, which the units on the y-axis just happen to be going up by 5, so I go up 5 from 20 to 25, right? And then I run 1 from 0 over to 1, then I have my second point. And once I have my second point, I just get a straight line and I graph it like so. Okay, so let's work through that process again. We find out what the slope is. We find out what the y-intercept is. All right, no matter what they throw at us, we can figure that out. Whether it's equation, a table, a graph, words, we can figure that out. Once we know that, it's easier to start off graphing the y-intercept, because then we can use that point and do rise over run to get a second point. And once we have 2 points, it's easy to draw a straight line. All right? Draw a straight line. Now, Let's talk about this a little bit. All right? We're talking about real world. So here's another example. We've got a kayak. Everyone ever driven or ridden in a kayak before? Right? You sit down inside it and then you just use your arms and paddle, okay? So check this out. They charge $15 per hour and $2.50 for a brief lesson. So just paying attention to the words, which one of those sounds like a rate and which one of those sounds like a one-time fee? What do you think, Madison? 15 per hour. Okay, so 15 per hour is a rate. So we can already say that this is probably going to be our slope. And then what sounds like a one-time deal? Right, $2.50. Pay attention to a brief lesson, right? Well, a lesson usually means one lesson, right? So one quick lesson costs $2.50. So we know that this $2.50 is probably going to be our y-intercept, all right? So if we were able to put that into an equation, we would come up with this right here. Y equals 15x plus 2.5, okay? And then we need to graph the equation. Well, I tell you what, let's go ahead and use the coordinate grid that's already here. We have y equals 15x plus 2.5. All right, so my y-intercept is 2.5 right here. So I'm going to place that at 2.5 on the y-axis, which would be about right there. And then my slope tells me that I'm going to rise 15 and run 1, right? I'm going to rise and run. So from 2.5, I would go up to 17.5, and then I would go over 1, and that would be my new point. And then once again, I get a line and graph it. Okay? So a couple things to notice. Remember, both of these lines are going uphill, right? And both of their slopes were positive. One was 5 and one was 15. Notice that the larger slope had a much steeper line. So that's a good pattern to get used to. So one more time, we were given an equation. We identified the slope and identified the y-intercept. We plotted the y-intercept on the graph, and then using that point, we're able to go rise and run to find another point. The last got it, please. The last got it is on the next page, 202. So try the last got it very quickly, please.